everything that's going on in your head with the Sixers. This is an interesting one.
Joel Embiid, for being as dominant and boisterous as he is, he doesn't have the Mamba mentality. He's or is he's a big man in that he's limited into how he can take over a game, which is a bad thing for him because that I don't see Cat having that problem. I don't see Jokic having that problem, and maybe that's why he didn't win MVP for the second year in a row. And by the way, Shaq said it: if you're that mad, it should show in your game. That night, I think you and I were texting, and we knew the series was over. Like, this is over. We're not going to waste our time anymore. And then you have... So I'm going to start with Joel Embiid, because I don't want to talk about the biggest issue you have, and that's the third piece. But...
Oh, we got a couple pieces. Yeah.
You got a couple pieces. You found a couple pieces, especially when they froze out James Harden. Yes, I believe they intentionally kept him from getting the ball in the fourth quarter. You could see them intentionally not passing James Harden the ball. Says a lot. Go ahead.
So, I kind of struggle with this because, you and I always, we have these chats, and, it's good getting a different perspective, and any perspective you give, it doesn't come from emotion. It comes from what you see on the court, and, maybe there are a few numbers that go into it, but, it's based on what you see. I kind of sometimes can get emotional sometimes, but there's also some logic and rationale to it. And one of the things I have to always ask myself is the question of, what did you think was going to happen? When you go wrong, it's like I tell my kids, stop, don't do this. If you do this, don't come crying to me when it goes wrong. Keep your money in your book bag. Don't take your money out of that envelope in your book bag. If you do it, don't come crying to me. Now, let me just say this for the record, for the millions and millions of people that are going to hear this. The Sixers team with James Harden is a better basketball team than they were without him and Ben Simmons sitting on the bench.
Ben Simmons on the bench.
So if you tell me the Sixers team that suited up in game 1 and the Sixers team that suited up in the first game of the playoffs, the playoff team was better. Now, with that being said, no way in hell I do that trade. However, that Sixers team, I think Harden played about 18, 19 games for them, towards the end of the season. Clearly, they were better. Harris was better. Maxey was better. But for the record, I would not have done that trade. And, role players, the team seems to be managed properly. There are just so many holes in the Sixers organization that not only have other teams plugged the holes, but the other teams got like 50 plugs behind those holes that they plugged. And it's like with the Sixers, like one thing goes wrong and that's it. Milwaukee lost their second best player. Even guys like Tatum and Giannis, not only are they great players, but a lot of people talk about the players, right? But you got to have a lot of stuff around you. And, you look at Boston right now, they've got assets, they got youth, they got talent. Same thing with Milwaukee. and you have a Sixers team that has less than that right now and very poorly mismanaged. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just looking at this like, again, I'm not trying to, everybody's not going to win the championship. Like you made a good point when we were talking on the last chat. You're like, most first round draft picks don't help their teams get better. And there are players who, Joel Embiid is one of the best big men I've ever seen, talent, skill-wise. One of the best, not the best, but one. But there are guys that had more talent than him, and guys, maybe equally as skilled. Teams maybe as good or better than the Sixers that didn't win a championship because of timing. And I think I did a lot of research on it yesterday. I might have to come to terms with the fact that, listen, Giannis is younger than Embiid. Tatum is younger than Embiid. There are a lot of players that are younger and have better situations. And, Embiid's going to be 29 next year. And you know what? It just may be a situation where the Sixers are going to have to put themselves in a position every year where they rebuild the team for win now, win one championship. And my opinion, I don't see it. But what I'd like to know from you, Chris Ham, you are the general manager of the Sixers. You got the full authority to do. What are you doing this offseason? Keeping in mind about our cap situation and the fact that Harden has the option of opting in. What do you do if you're the GM?
Harden is going to leave. I think, first of all, it's been said that there was a heated situation between Harden and Max. Okay. Before hearing that, like you said, I like the eye test. What I saw was Maxey, and I can't remember the other player in the game. And I just so happened not to be recording this game, this vital game, in the fourth quarter. James Harden only had 2 shots, but James Harden was also frozen out. James Harden and his team knows this. James Harden and his team is gone. I have to, as general manager, find us another piece. Or say, I think we have the pieces we need. Maybe we just need a new coach. How about that? Because I know your least favorite player in all of Philadelphia has to be Doc Rivers. Has to be Doc Rivers. He needs to go. He's not. First of all, he got outcoached. But then again, this Miami team is kind of like that Boston team. It's kind of like that Milwaukee team. They're well constructed as well as well coached. Philadelphia is neither. I can change the coach quicker than I can anything else by Doc Rivers. Interesting.
Yeah. I mentioned in the beginning of the call, I think we may have to come to terms with certain things too. I mean, I was reading an article and they're talking about Harden, and first of all, Harden's not getting $47 million from any other team. Nobody's paying him that. He knows that. So if I'm him, and this is going to sound hard, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't think he cares about basketball as much as he should. Now, people, whoever hears that can take that however they want to take it. But again, do I want a guy on my team playing point guard 21-7-10? Yes. 21-7-10, you're a Hall of Famer. 21-7-10, you're a first ballot Hall of Famer. But you're getting paid $47 million. That's actually pretty bad. If I read an article, and the article, what they suggested is Daryl Morey should go to Harden and tell him, listen, try to convince him to opt out of the contract. That's what you try to get him to do. And
he wants to leave.
Right. Basically tell him we don't want you here. Now, on the flip side of that, you don't know how this dude's going to respond. You know? And again, if I'm him, like you've always said, you know, people are basketball players, everybody's a certain profession, but you're a man first. You know, and if you're going to come to me and tell me, hey man, listen, we don't want you here. Okay, great, you know, find somewhere else to go. And how you come at me? Thank you for your input, Mr. Morey. I would like to opt into my $47 million contract. And guess what? I'm going to shut down. You ain't going to get 21, 7, and 10. You're going to get the playoff Harden during the regular season. You know. So
first all I do is playoff Harden.
Yeah. So I think there needs to be a little bit of realism, and you know, again, I hate saying this, but I saw this on another post. It might be beneficial to go to him and say, hey man, let's do a restructure. You know, but again, even keeping him or getting rid of him, you know, we bring in, let's say, a Bradley Beal. I don't think that does it, man. I still with Bradley Beal. You know, are we going to Boston in a 7-game series? Are we going to Miami in a 7-game series and winning? I think we might have to come to terms with the fact that, listen, this team is in a, you know, let's say Joel's got, let's say he has 13, 14 good years. He may just be in a 14-year period where, listen, they're just not a good enough organization. It's not just the team. There are a lot of things, man, you know, that have to go right. And
let me remind you of something about Philadelphia. I'm not talking about the 76ers right now. I'm talking about the city of Philadelphia. Brotherly love.
Yeah.
We're going to throw batters at Santa Claus, Philadelphia. You're a tough, gritty city. Everyone that comes out of Philadelphia has a chip on their shoulder. And you carry yourselves that way throughout your entire lives.
Yep.
You all don't have that. Embiid doesn't have that. Jason Tatum, that boy, he got a chip on the shoulder. I don't know why he got a chip on the shoulder, but something, somewhere along the lines, someone told Jason Tatum he was not enough.
Right.
And since then, he has that Mamba mentality of, I'm not going to call it Mamba mentality no more. I'm going to call it Moon Knight. He Moon Knights. Him, KD, Kobe Bryant, they Moon Knight. They black out, and next thing you know, you're not dealing with Steven or Mark, you're dealing with Jack. And the scene's tore up. Everyone's dead. That's Jason Tatum. That's Giannis. That's KD. Some nights. When his back is against the wall, it's KD. You know? That's why we're going to call it Moon Knight. Whereas, I just don't see it in Philadelphia. I don't see that chip. And it's a good thing and a bad thing, because I still ask myself, is having that chip on your shoulder a good or bad thing? You know? But that's another question. That's a psychological question. And I'm not a doctor, but the grit's missing. It's died in Philadelphia.
What would you do? Like, what would you?
I have to start. I'm not going to panic. First of all, we're getting Harden out. Some way, some shape, some form, we're going to move Harden. Because he doesn't have a love for the game. He doesn't have a chip on his shoulder. Harden loves money. He loves fame and notoriety. He got both.
Yep.
Now he's a shell of his former self. Then you have so get him out. Give it to Doc Rivers. Now I'm going to sign a coach. Hey, come in, install the right culture in this office. Tell me what you want, and then I'll go and I'll try to make it happen. What do you need to get this team past the second round? Like the conference finals sound nice for Philadelphia, but what do you need? But that's going to be that's a process. It's a process that you can either do. You can either build during the draft, but you and I both really don't trust the draft process. Philadelphia should never trust the draft process again. And yeah, that's it. Slow process. Find a trade after I bring in a new coach and fire Harden.
Yeah. I think that's the perfect scenario. I just don't. I don't know how you do that with Harden. Like, you know, nobody's going to want him. Not for $47 million. And, you know, you're going to have to try and get a restructure first. And then move him. But, yeah.
For buyout.
Was that?
You don't have to buy him out.
Yeah, I guess that's, yeah.
And trust me, once you tell a man to his face that he's hot garbage, and I'm not saying he's hot garbage,
yeah,
but you're going to have to hurt his feelings,
right?
As his,
yeah,
to make him,
yeah,
to anger him,
yeah.
And okay, he's going to want to leave. He's going to leave. But how? You need to ask yourself a question. How do you go from a bad situation to Ben Simmons to another bad situation immediately thereafter with James Harden? What is wrong in Philadelphia's front office? What's wrong in their locker room? When do you stop saying it's the players and start looking deeper?
Yeah, and you know, all things considering too, I mean, they lost this series in 6 games. Which is, that's a few bounces or, a game away from a game 7. Losing a series in 6 games to, again, a superior team that was better coached, better managed. Nothing to shake your head, nothing to be depressed about. But at the same time, like, I look at what I see on the court, and you should not have a 6'7" power forward point guard getting offensive rebounds over your 7-foot center consistently. And they were doing that all series. And you should not have a guy like PJ Brown, who has zero athleticism, wide open on the corner all series. You should not have 2 guys who are undrafted, starting for the Miami Heat, torching your starters. That should not happen. That's coaching. You can't tell me that this guy, God, what's his name?
Bruce?
Strus, yeah. You can't tell me skill than Tyrese Maxey.
Yo, Strus was out there looking like Jimmy Butler.
Yeah. That's coaching. And I see Doc on the sideline. He's like, hey guys, you need to play more aggression. You need to hustle. And I look at the players and I'm like, yeah, and this is the second quarter. I'm like, yeah, they've shut down. It's over. And I hear people say a lot of stuff like, oh, well, it's still the players that have to go execute. Got it. But one of the things that I like to do is, and you and I talked about like our career goals, and one of mine is to be a senior executive. And if I'm a senior executive and I'm hiring directors, deputy directors, I'm going to look that person in their face and I'm going to say, what do you need to succeed in this organization? What do you need? You don't have to tell me that now. You can go back to your office, your organization, take a command climate survey, take a viewpoint survey, take temperature. I expect you to evaluate that properly, because if you tell me what you need and I give it to you, I'm going to expect to talk. And it's very hard, Chris, to kind of do that when everybody's not a stakeholder. And what I mean by that is, Elton Brand was there when Doc Rivers got there. So Doc shows up, and you have two guys that may or may not be on the same page. And Daryl Morey, again, I think this guy's a clown. I think he got lucky in Houston and had a few good years of a run, and everybody thinks he's better than he is. So we bring him in. You know who else was like that? Doc Rivers. Got lucky, had one good year in Boston, and everybody thinks this guy's better than he is. And of all cities, we bring two guys who are overrated into Philadelphia to manage the organization at the same time. And what was I'm not surprised by any of this.
You should be. You should honestly be surprised. You should be surprised. You should be angered. You should be hurt. That's going to be a hell of a clip of me jumping. But you should be pride, you should be hurt, and you should be angry. Because what happened is, there you go. Doc Rivers came in and he sold you a bill of goods.
Yep.
Elton Brand, I don't see where he's left his imprint. I don't. If Doc Rivers is his imprint, or James Harden, then he needs to take a step back from this career right now, take a step down in position, study it some more, and then try again. Because right now, this Philadelphia experiment is stalling. Again, the process worked. It got you where you want it to be. So what happens once you get there? At first I was saying it was Ben Simmons' fault, and everyone in the world was blaming Ben Simmons.
He played a part, but it is not all his fault.
It's not all his fault.
And I said this from the beginning, people have feelings, people have emotions, people are human. And, last season, you go out in 7 games against Atlanta, and a reporter asked Doc Rivers, hey, do you think you can win a championship with Ben Simmons? And Doc Rivers said, I don't know. And if I'm Ben, I'm
never stepping on the court for you again.
I'm never playing for you again. And I said it immediately when I heard that. I said, Doc Rivers should be fired right now. If I'm the Sixers owner, pack your crap, you're gone. And again, Ben Simmons, the guy was soft. You and
I talk about this all the time. The male psyche is very frail. To be an athlete,
yes,
you have to have an ego. You have your mind.
Yep,
is very important to you. Simone Biles in this past Olympics, prime example. She knew her mind. She's like, I gotta step away, and everyone tore down for it.
Right.
But you and I, we both know the athletic mind is very frail.
Right.
Doc Rivers, in one sentence,
yep,
may have ended Ben Simmons' career. Because he was already shaky shooting during a game, which means there was an issue there. Now your coach is saying, I don't know if I can even win with this guy. What about everything else I do that's good?
Yeah. And he told the whole world that. I don't think I can win with this guy. Yeah. Well,